All right, guys. So we are live. We are recording. Welcome everyone back to Spiritual Selfish Channel, where we remind you to focus on yourself so that you can raise your vibration and become conscious creator of your own life. Today is a very exciting episode because I have a dear friend of mine, Mark, on, and I really wanted to bring him on. And my intention, as you can see from the title, my intention is to help all of you guys who are at the beginning of your spiritual awakening and might feel confused, lost, lonely, not understanding what is happening. And why I wanted to bring on Mark is because his spiritual awakening have happened quite relevantly recently, and now he is already an NLP coach. He has his own podcast, Unleash Your Voice, and I just wanted to yeah, have him on and share his story, takeaways with you, so that you guys can also know that it's okay to embrace this journey. You're not going crazy, and that the change can literally happen so fast once you embrace it. So, Mark, I'm so excited to have you on. Mark Grayson, um, I would love for you to start a little bit and share, where you're from and when your spiritual awakening happened.
Thanks for having me on, Kristina. It's an absolute pleasure. So yeah, diving into it with my own spiritual awakening. I'd have to say the start of the journey happened back in 2019 in August. I had a lot of struggles growing up with like addictions and stuff that sort of led it led me into something, to ask more questions and stuff. Like when I went through my, addictions and then like, my body sort of shut down, long story short. And I had, well, like what they call in, 3D reality is like a psychotic episode because people that are using their two eyes to sort of see things rather than, their third eye, um, can't, rationalize that in their mind of what's actually happening. So, I like just to start off with, some of my experiences back then, like I had some out of body experiences, looking down at myself, doing things. And yeah, it was a strange feeling at first, but I had a lot of like downloads come through at the time where I started to be more connected with the universe as a whole, like, realizing that there is a deeper meaning to all of this and why we're actually here, and that, I'm connected. Everyone is connected, and like people, animals, everything's all connected as one. There is only like one consciousness, and we're just a speck of, the divine. So yeah, and then like as I started to have all these downloads, I started to realize that there was a better path for me to, live live more of an expanded life, like to start wanting to learn about the mind and how that works and how the body connections. So I went and, did a bunch of courses, NLP, like courses to do with rewiring the mind and stuff. And when I started to rewire my mind, things started to shift. They started to change. Like I started asking deeper questions from within and focusing on my inner world. And that's when, you know, um, I just like how to explain it. Like I had so many shifts and, unexplainable things that were happening to me. Like, when it comes to like downloads, in simple terms, of people that don't understand spirituality and how it actually works, because we are just a spirit and a body, everything's all energy. Um, like I was basically, how do I put it? Like, I'm trying to simplify it, Christina, for the ones that are on the fence. But when it comes to like a download, basically we are vessels of information. So, we get downloads all the time, like of information that comes through, like, as you're doing like the light language right now, Christina. So which, you know, we are all capable of. But yeah, like getting these downloads of information and you know, things that I've never, like, I'll say you haven't read a book and you haven't done this, but you just seem to have that inner knowing with certain things. And you're like, okay, where's this information coming from? Well, the downloads are coming from like other dimensions and other, you know, because we have spirit guides. We have spirit guides that we can connect with. And I know that's considered woo-woo for a lot of people out there, but you know, when you start to understand spirituality at a deeper level and the deeper meaning of things, like why we're actually here, then you know, you start to figure it out. You know, if you know what I mean, Christina, like you had your
Yeah,
own sort of yeah.
100%.
Sent.
All right, Mark, perfect. Thank you for sharing. Like everything that you said there is like so 100% true. We are vessels, we are pure, consciousness. But I feel for a lot of people, when we wake up, like our consciousness, our mind doesn't even stretch that way. We are, okay, now in the moment, some shit is happening. And if we take it, a step back, when you had this psychotic episode at the beginning, what were your experiences in terms of, did you really understood what is happening to you, like, oh, this is spiritual awakening and so on and so forth, or you had no idea?
No, sort of. I mean, I have always been sort of, you know, interested in spirituality and stuff, but not really diving as deep as, you know, I am now. Like obviously in understanding it, so it was a little bit of a shock. I didn't really know what was happening, but I knew that there was this. But at the same time, like because of like, you know, when it actually happened, I'm sort of like, okay, well, I'm starting to see the bigger picture of what's, you know, what's reality and what's not. It was almost like, you know, my whole life I'm thinking that I'm, you know, whatever I'm seeing with my own two visual eyes is to be true. But then, you know, I realized that I was walking around with a blindfold on, basically, and not understanding that there is so much more than what, you know, what was visual, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So when was that moment when you made the connection? Oh, what I'm experiencing is a spiritual awakening. Because for me personally, it took about maybe a year to understand, wow, actually what I'm going through is a spiritual awakening. There's a term for it. What about you?
Okay, yeah, that's a good question. So yeah, it wasn't really straight away. It wasn't until I started to you know, like I was working on myself for a bit. So obviously I was focused on my health and you know, because they put me on medication at the time, like antipsychotic drugs and all of that. So I was focused on taking that and make sure I was sleeping properly and all of those things. So, and doing a lot of work on my habits and changing my patterns and things, like started to sort of try and rewire my brain, because I'd done a lot of damage, like with all of the addictions and stuff. It did a lot of damage. So sort of like trying to get an understanding of where my life was heading in the right direction first. And it wasn't really until basically I would say May last year, I would say, after I did the NLP course, because that was like an intense course that made me go inwards. That's when, you know, I sort of started to understand things really. I'm going, oh, okay, so what I went through back then was not really like a psychotic episode. It was more of a, you know, a spiritual experience that I went through. Yeah, and that, yeah, I would say that was when sort of like the journey sort of started from there.
Yeah, like the moment you become consciously aware, like, woo, what's happening is like, I'm not just, a not so, but
Mm.
I'm growing and evolving beyond something that my mind can comprehend.
Yeah,
And, once we make that conscious connection, then we are able to go in, not just crumbling apart, and taking away, letting go the past conditioning, but starting to go into direction of raising your
Yeah.
vibration, calling in the right people, the right opportunities to start actually building what you want in this life, right?
Yeah.
So I'm curious, when you made that conscious connection, what was your family like? Like, did you try to explain them what you were doing, what you were
Yeah.
experiencing, and what they did thought?
Yeah, that's a good question. So it wasn't an easy process, and this is why, hence why you've got me on this right now to talk about it, to help others out there that might be going through the same thing, to speak your truth, because that's important. Because if we, like, just in general, like, in a big context, if we suppress anything, if we suppress emotions, we and don't turn up as who we are, then we get all sorts of problems that go within the body, and that. But it wasn't easy, because, like, my family, they saw it from a different angle. They saw me as losing my mind, and essentially I'm in like a mental institution for what I went through, and stuff. But yeah, they sort of, and like, they still don't, like, completely understand it, but I still am able to talk about my experiences and what I believe in anyway. So there are some, family members that are sort of coming on board and, like, listening. Oh, okay, yeah, I'm curious, and they're curious to know more, and all of that. But when it comes to, like, certain belief systems and stuff, it can be a challenge. It can be a challenge, but I want to say to the people out there that no matter how challenging something is, that it's best to be who you are and own who you are and embrace that, because you will find your people. You will get the synchronicities, like me and you, Kristina, where people just appear in your life that were meant to be in your life, that maybe you had some sort of soul connection in your past lives, and all of that. Because but that's the thing, like, I started understanding that, hey, I've been here before, like, I'm an old soul, I've been here, I've done this many times, and all of that, because we are we signed the soul contract to be here to help humanity um raise their vibrations, and step into a higher consciousness.
Yep, 150% agree with you. And as you started to speak about past lifetimes, and having the soul mission to awaken humanity, and so on and so on and so forth, I'm curious, like, were there moments when you will doubt yourself, like, oh, are my experiences real, or maybe it's just my mind making this stuff up? Like, how like those people who are out there and start to have these experiences but feel that they don't have this network of people who can confirm and relate to them, like, how did you deal maybe with this kind of moments?
There were some moments where I might have been in and out and doubting myself, but then, as you start to dive deeper and accept, what you tend to not have the doubt anymore, because you realize that your whole life you've been told absolute lies about, reality, and that there is so much more. Like, we're eternal spirits. We're not eternal, like, our body is not eternal. Obviously, the body dissolves, but the spirit's eternal, and this is what I know. So I'm happy to express that. I'm happy to, regardless of people that aren't attuned. And the only reason people aren't attuned to certain things is because they might not have done the inner work and worked on their shadow self, and to evolve, and raise their vibrations, move the stuck energy out of their body.
Yeah, 100%. And this is something I think um I mentioned in some of my recent videos about, the moment you start raising your vibration, you are not anymore an energetical match to old things, to old habits of yours. And then you start, to pull in those opportunities, right people like yourself,
Mm.
in your life. So, I would love to hear okay, when you took that NLP course and you started to kind of consciously becoming aware, wow, I'm on a big journey. I'm on a soul mission actually here. How did you go about, connecting with people, finding those right people, and what does it even mean to find the right people? Like, how would you describe that?
Well, it's like when we talk about finding people, it's sort of like the synchronicities just happen. Like, when you raise your vibrations, you could be walking down the road and all of a sudden, you get that gut feeling like to walk into a shop that you might and then you might go and do that and then start talking to someone and you realize, oh my god, okay, like the energetic match, and things just happen like spontaneously, like that you can't explain with the rational mind. And next thing you know, like you've got someone on the internet like going, oh my god, like I really connect with you, I don't know what it is, and then you get on a call like me and you, Christina, how we met, and then you just figure it out that, hey, okay, wow, we're vibrating at that level. And it's almost like you don't have to go looking for it. It comes to you. That's how law of attraction works. Like you're not forcing things to happen. They just happen. And I know that might be hard for people to believe out there because they think, oh, that's, like, how can they rationalize that? But that's the thing. You can't rationalize it. It's beyond the rational mind.
Yeah,
Mm.
exactly right. And um I know it might sound like out there, exactly as you said, when you are in pain and everything seems like there's no way out, I'm so freaking lonely and yada, yada, yada. Like, it's just the part of the journey. That's my biggest piece of advice, because when I was going through my shadow work part and facing my limiting beliefs, facing my suppressed emotions, childhood trauma, and so on and so forth, I had no one around me to tell me, hey, Kristina, it's okay, it's just you're purging out and letting the trash out so that then your vibration returns back to natural state. I had no one tell me that, and I spend a lot of the time judging myself and being afraid. Oh my God, where my life is rolling. I'm literally, emotional wreck. So, if anyone is experiencing that, no, this is not forever. And this is a part of raising your vibration. And, as you, Mark, said, once you raise your vibration, you kind of don't have to do much. I would say, I would add, you just have to allow and surrender, be open enough for
Mm.
things to come. Because, for example, I remember how we quotes met. I was scrolling through this Facebook group, and then I saw you doing Facebook Live, and it was very long live. I was like thinking how this guy can talk for so long. But now knowing you, like, I understand. But I remember hearing this in my in my mind, like, this guy's video, he's gonna add you on Facebook. And, like, I literally did it. I don't remember if even if I commented or something, but I did like the video, and you instantly added me. I was like, what the heck? Like, how is that
Because
possible?
I knew, like, I felt that pull. Yeah, it's funny, like when, yeah, exactly right. When you have that energetic match, and I felt that pull. I'm like, I know, like I'm connected to this Christina, and it was just so like in sync, and and yeah, we get on a call, and it's just like, oh, okay, yeah, wow, like, okay, we're really resonating here with each other. And and it's refreshing though, like for people out there, it's refreshing that when you open up and you get to be who you are, and you're not afraid of what people think of you, because you want to talk about spirituality and, like, other like, places of where you might have come from and all of those things, and the reincarnation and all of that, then you're just happy, you're happy to just express, and you find the people and they're happy to talk, and it just makes you feel alive, if that's one way of putting it. And
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Like, literally, when people like you and other people, events, opportunities started coming to my life, I was like, can relationships be that easy, that understanding? Like, I'm just able to be here myself, and tell everything, and I will be supported. I was so like relieved and happy at the same time.
Mm,
um so those of you guys who might feel lonely now,
mm,
like the fact that you're watching this video and hearing Mark and I share this,
mm,
know that you already raised your vibration enough to be an energetical match for this video. Your vibration is high enough for
mm.
this information to come through into your consciousness. So the next time you scroll on Facebook and you are like, oh, I should add this person, you don't ignore this sign, but you actually listen to this nudge. And this is what it is, synchronicities. You gotta listen to yourself
The
and not
intuition,
judge
right?
yourself.
Mm,
Yeah. And just follow it.
exactly right. Yeah, your intuition knows, Christina. And what would you say, like, if you were to explain for people out there with vibrations and energy and how, like, we connect with our, you know, like our soul stars and archangels and different, from different dimensions, how would you explain that to people that might be sort of half there? How it,
Yeah, I mean, there's, if you want to go into the topic, we can sit here for hours.
I try, know. In
But
like a simple term, like how
yeah,
would
yeah.
you, uh,
In a nutshell, we have to understand, what you said, Mark. We are internal souls. We are internal energy. And I think I have a whole download on this when I think it were Pleiadians who came through and described how our soul comes down. Literally we have this human body vessel, but it's actually a very advanced technology that makes it possible. We have like an invisible cable that connects us, our highest self, to our temporary human body. And at the same time, imagine you come back on earth, not back, you come down on earth, your memory is freaking wiped out. You have no remembrance of who you are as eternal being. You just think you're this, just this meat and bones bag, like, and you have a soul mission to freaking awaken humanity, or just to hold the high vibration, or spread love and whatever. you
mm,
you can get in a lot of trouble, and you can be conditioned, and what is happening for most of our people. This is why all of us have spirit guides. All of us have archangels who protect us. And you might feel, I have, I don't have spirit guides, or I don't see them. Like, they cannot show themselves to you, because you're gonna think, first of all, they don't exist, my mind makes this shit up. But second, we have to learn to go through this human pain. And this is why we signed up for this struggle and
mm.
suffering, so that we can understand what the souls who have been here stuck in
So that we can
suffering.
help others heal, right? So then they can
Mm,
remember who they are. Because when we talk about, like you said, like we forget, we forget when we come here, when we incarnate here, we forget who we really are. We've all got psychic abilities. And on simple terms, for people out there that might be on the fence or might be using their logical brain, when you think about energy, right? Like if you come into a room and you think about energy and you feel off, like someone's got bad energy, your psychic ability to pick up on their energy field it's not resonating with you. So that's how, in simple terms, because when we think like, we've got like this psychic ability, like think it's like some sort of like woo woo, but it's just it's on an energetic thing. Like we get gut feels, right, and we have intuition, and we can't explain why we know things, right? That's your psychic abilities
mm,
that you're tapping into always, all the time, and it's just being aware of it,
yeah.
basically. So when you start to be aware of it, you go, okay, well, yeah, and then you start to notice synchronicities that are happening all the time. You start to notice them all, and you, like, everywhere you go, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, wow, that's a synchronicity. Okay, yeah, that's a synchronicity. Like
Mm,
you would say that's true, right, Christina? Like, and I think that's an explanation that's going to help people that are in their logical brain and trying to rationalize things, because you got to go beyond the rational mind to really understand it.
Mm, mm. Yeah, like I mean, once you understand how simple it
Mm.
is, you will be surprised. And we've just been on purpose told and brainwashed
Our
that
third eye,
it's wrong,
our
it's something
pineal gland,
impossible, like
right?
all the nonsense.
Well, like our, well, just for the listeners, just while we're still on, like our third eye it's been taken out because like our pineal gland, which is the opening of the third eye, has been decalcified because of all of the things that we have in our life, like fluoride and stuff, and things that block it from opening up. And so we have to rewire things, we have to rewire the systems, and pick high vibrational foods and the right water, so then we can actually activate from within. Like that's, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I love that you brought up this point. We're not just being told to avoid the psychic abilities, or that it's bad or whatever, but we also have been literally through water, through food, through everything.
To
You
dumb it
know,
down. And people are
yeah,
really afraid, like, but thousands and thousands of years ago, people were afraid to speak up about their abilities. Like they well, after, they got ridiculed because they were so in tune with things, like the women out there, and they got casted as witches because, they just intuitively knew things, and people couldn't explain, like, well, what the hell, that's freaky, like, how do they know that about that, or whatever. So then we went into hiding about our own abilities, to share with the world of who we really are, that we are so much more powerful than we've been told, like all these bullshit lies, basically.
yeah, 100%. And it's a whole another story, but a lot of us, especially light workers, actually hold this trauma and this subconscious fear of speaking up and sharing our psychic abilities, because what if again we will be killed, taken down, and so on and so forth. But that's just to mention, if you are experiencing a fear like this, and you are in tune, there's a reason why you're experiencing this fear, so you're not alone. But with all of that, I think this has been a great conversation. I will start wrapping things up. So we talked about you waking up, you going through this with your family members and becoming aware and becoming this open vessel for information to come to you through and out in the world. What will be the top tips from you, Mark, to listeners, um, next actions to start changing their habits, to start releasing the stress or anxiety and start aligning with your right soul path?
Yeah, maybe to like start looking at your shadow self. So start looking at all of the, like, the lower version of you, and to work on that. Like, so to sort of have that awareness of if when your ego comes in, because the ego is just there to protect us. The ego is it's okay to have the ego there, but we need to have that awareness. Is the ego coming in, like, and trying to push its way and take over, and then to work on that, work on that, so then you can ascend into your higher self. That's what I would say. Like, if you work on because your lower version's basically your ego. So if you're coming across as arrogant rather than humble and authentic, then notice when that comes in, and work on that, to sort of shift your emotions to like have high vibrational emotions. So focus on self-love, focus on saying I am loved, focus on saying I'm grateful, because gratitude and love are the highest vibrations that you can have. So if you start focusing on that, you'll start to notice changes from within you, just that alone.
Yeah, 100%. It's about letting go the lower
Mm.
frequencies. And just to add, I know some people might have trouble saying I am love. Because for example, me, I thought, well, that's a total bullshit when I was on my journey. So a way of raising your vibration to get to that point is first to stop saying shit to yourself, right?
Negative
At
self-talk.
least don't lower your vibration and say, well, you know what, I'm not where I want to be. It's a lot about acceptance. And then, well, why it's so hard for me to believe that I deserve love, or why it's so hard. And the limiting beliefs, the traumas will come up. And as you let go all of that,
Mm,
nonsense, again, as you Mark said, uh, you don't have to do much afterwards, because if nothing is, there are no stones in your bag, it's not gonna there's nothing to pull you down any longer, so you natural will start to return. So, guys, with that being said, we'll wrap this up here. Thank you so much, Mark, for sharing all of your
thank
wisdom.
you.
And literally, guys, look at Mark. In the end of 2019, he had this high psychotic episode, and literally mid 2020, which is what, about a year ago, not
Mm,
even. You made a conscious connection that, oh, I'm actually on spiritual awakening, and now look at you, learning and knowing all about incarnations, how detoxify your body, and have so many incredible humans in your
mm,
life. Like, guys, it's all happening at a very, very rapid speed. You just need to embrace, the dark night of the
yeah.
soul, and that you're gonna go through a rough maybe time at the beginning when you wake up, but it's not forever. It's just part of it. So yeah, if you have any questions, please leave them down below. I'll be happy to jump and answer. I'm sure Mark will come here and engage as
Yep.
well. And those of you who want to connect with Mark, Mark, where can we find you and find your podcast? What's it all
Well, you
about?
can find my podcast on Spotify, and I've got it on Anchor, but it's basically it goes on Spotify and then all of the platforms that there is for any sort of
Yeah,
podcast. But mainly Spotify. It's called Unleash Your Voice. Yeah, I've only just started that, but then you can find me on like Instagram and Facebook as well. Like, obviously, I haven't got YouTube up and running yet, but that's in the making.
yeah.
So yeah, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram as Mark Grayson. Yeah,
Perfect. And I'll leave all of those links down below, guys, for you to connect with Mark. Definitely, if you feel called to reach out to him, he's a beautiful soul. And he's such an amazing person to go to, hey, I have this. And he's like, oh, you need to do this or connect with this person. Like, I think it's one of your gifts. Um, but other than that, thank you so much all for watching. If you enjoyed this video, this interview, give it a like. And if you'd like me to do more interviews, let me know in the comments. But other than that, talk to you soon. Bye.
thank you.